verse 8 says, "You were once darkness, but now you are light in the Lord, so live as children of light." What does that actually mean, children of light? Well, clearly what Paul is saying is you are children of the Father of lights. You've been born again through someone who has brought you out of darkness into the light. But that's not actually what he says. He uses a strange phrase, doesn't he? You're children of light. What on earth is that talking about? Well, I think all sorts of things, but let me just mention three. Number one, when you are a child of somebody, you sort of resemble him. I constantly get maddened by the number of people in Scotland say, "Aye, I ken whose son you were when you first stood up to preach. You're just like your father." And we none of us like thinking we're a carbon copy of somebody else. We like to think we're individuals. We're unique. We're a one-off. There's nobody like us and never ever will be. But in actual fact, we do tend to resemble our parents. And I remember my father telling me that when he first started preaching, people down in Lowestoft and Yarmouth, where my grandfather used to go fishing every year in the herring fishery, used to say, him, he's got to be the son of John Allen. That was my granddad, John Allen, not me, John Allen. But that's the thing. You resemble the one whose child you are. And so Paul is saying, you are children of light. And your life has got to reflect that quality of light, honesty, transparency and truth, because that's the way you were born. And to do anything else, to live in deception, to live in illusion, to try to confuse people about who you really are, that is to deny your parentage. There's a second thing though about being somebody's child, and that is that a child does what the father wants, carries out the father's will. And so if you are a child of light, that means that everything the light is about is what you will be about as well. You'll carry out those things that God wants to happen. And if God is a God of truth and revelation, you'll be like that too. And so you won't live in the darkness. You won't pretend motives that aren't true. You won't claim to be something you aren't. You won't live in hypocrisy and untruth. You won't lie to yourself about the kind of person you are. Instead, as a child of light, you will do those things that light would want to happen. And so we've got to live as honest, truthful people, honest to other people and honest to ourselves. It's amazing how many people in our world are living in a self-perpetuated deception, and they won't even admit to themselves what's really going on in their lives. Christians must not be like that. There's a third thing though too about being a child of light, because when you're somebody's child, you represent that person in public. And I know that sometimes I'm very proud of my kids when I see them doing things that I wish I could have done, that I would have done. And when I see the likeness of myself coming out in them, I think, that's my girl. That's a chip off the old block. That's the way you should be. And you know what? That's the way that God wants to feel about us when he looks at us and sees us reflecting his light, his glory, his truthfulness, his honesty, his concern with justice, his light. He looks at us and says, that's my child. I know it because they represent me properly in the world out there. Question is, today, as you go into the world one more time, are you going to tell the truth about whose kid you are? Have a good day.